so we're a little bit behind.
That's pretty good for government.
Yeah.
Right, Bill?
That's within their error.
So our folks in the IT were on.
All right, I'll give a little background. Bill, please sit up.
Bill, come on
and
up, sir.
We'll have you identify in a moment. As counselor, I think most are familiar, and those new who have joined us since, in looking at not only Higgins Park, but in the consolidation of buildings and looking for space to not only move youth services and rec out of Lamagna and Strand so we can market that, Joey, and get rid of some of these dinosaurs that are draining us of funds and are going to cost a lot of money for the future. We, a couple years ago, actually when I was new, I think I met Bill the first couple weeks I was town manager because he had said, I've been talking to the town, like Joey said in another instance, and we're sort of sold a bill of goods sometimes, but I like to go and look for myself. And people have told me, well, he has this beautiful gym over at St. Adalbert's, and there's an area for a theater, and people went to school there, and it's gorgeous, and nobody in the town side is interested. They rebuffed him. So I went over and met with them. And I went in and looked at it, and it looked like a diamond in the rough to me.
It's more
it
than
has
that. It's
so
a beautiful facility.
yeah, and it still is. And you know, to Bill's credit, wasn't the contractor in him or the innovator. He's a love of railroad stations and platforms. His dearly departed brother was big on that in another part of the country. I think he's a visionary. He took the apartments, you know, from the old school, put in some beautiful units that are 100% occupied. We have residents in Thompsonville. You talk about rehabilitation and redevelopment. He did it. Took an old school. Now we have seniors living there and college kids living there, and it's all because he had the vision. And let me tell you, he'll tell you, but he's a gentleman. There were a lot of headwinds for him to get those projects through with previous staff in the town, and he laughs, but it was a very frustrating experience, and I'm glad that we were here in the end to try to rectify that for him and be part of that success story to a small degree. But he did it himself. No money, no abatements. He did it all. So when we looked at the school, we then came to council. We said, why don't we put that under an option? Because the council had great memories of it. It stands alone from the Higgins Park because it can be used as well. As I said, part of my plan, I'll be coming forward in December, is to move all of youth services there to keep it in Thompsonville. We now, because the council had the vision to do the purchase sale of Enfield Street, we've got 1.8 acres right here. We can double the parking behind Town Hall. And now that, which was landlocked, and Bill, if you want to know, who told me about, why don't you go talk to the bank, and Enfield was this man, and we did it. So now the option for a very small amount to keep it under contract with us, so he knew we were interested, took a nominal fee. I think I don't know how many months we have left on that bill, but it's coming up.
It's kind of one more year after this year.
Yeah, COVID sort of interrupted our plans. But why we're here this evening is because in preparation for me to come with you for the plan of the Strand and Lamagna, I have a place for recreation services. We'd like to put youth services. Bill has spent a lot of time with Kasha and Public Works, going between the two, seeing what the needs are, the spatial, and we are at a juncture where we need guidance from the council. And he's going to go over it. And basically, this is what it is in a nutshell. There's the footprint of the building as it is, which he could put all of the required space and still keep a gym for youth services and the administration. But it will severely use up a lot of the space of that gym. So Bill wanted to know, it's going to change it, obviously. It's not going to have the same ambiance or the size and the look and the ability to have tournaments and a lot of other larger functions there. So he came to us and said, look, I have two plans. And I said, well, let the council decide. Do you want him to stay within the square footage of St. Adalbert's, and he'll give you about what the cost is, he now knows, or do we want to do an addition so that we can have a much larger basketball, sporting, recreation area inside for more of tournaments and the like? I said, well, this is a good time to have council give us their direction on it. So, Bill, let's put a nice sheet together we passed out with the pertinent information you should have. And Bill, I turn it over to you. There are other issues about, and I'd like to purchase it and be in control of it. John, we could do that over time. But as I say, this is to be able to get rid of Lamagna and to really save a lot of money in operation costs there, and a lot of money we're going to have to put in to upgrade it and do this. It'll be brand new, and it'll be there for decades for our kids. And it also is conducive to the future, use or hopeful expansion of Higgins Park. So with that,
Welcome, sir. I mean,
Bill.
again, sorry for the delay. You're welcome. Good to see you. And
Nice to
again,
meet you.
you have the floor. And again, thank you for your patience. Sorry for the delay.
It's kind of like council in the round. I'm not quite sure where to look.
If you could, Bill, make sure the microphone's on so people that you're on, there you go, so they can hear you great.
Is it supposed to turn on? Is it on now?
Yeah, it's red, it's on.
Right, it's on. Okay. And I'm not exactly sure what the protocol is now as far as handing stuff out. The same thing I'm going to go over really quickly. I made some copies, so.
I
Well,
believe
I can
we
handle-
put them all at
there you
everybody's
have 'em?
desk. It's
Yeah.
the sheet.
It's just going to be an overview of what we talked about. Is the town manager went into the school, State of Dalworth School had the finest grade school gymnasium I've ever seen. It's the footprint itself is just under 9,500 square feet. It's 9,490 square feet. Is a point of reference. Most grade school gyms in the state of Connecticut right now, when they're built with a gym or a conference, a combination center, are about 3,500 square feet. So it was a very large structure. The amount of people in this town who have played basketball there or went to functions there always surprise me. I mean, they may not remember the church, but they remember the gym. So that's what it is. Now, the gym, I met with youth services, twice, and then different town departments to try to get their input in terms of, where they think this would work for a youth service center. We met with youth service. We got a shopping list of the requirements, their space requirements, and their general need in terms of who has to be near what activities have to be near each other. And the youth services center, their requirement is approximately 9,800 square feet. Of that 9,800 square feet, they penciled in a gym of 3,500 square feet. There's no dimensions per se, they just said a gym of 3,500 square feet. So arguably, you could put the their entire requirement pretty much within the footprint of the gymnasium as it now exists. The gym, I don't know how, I know I've walked people through the gym, I don't know who has been in the gym.
I used to average 20 when it was.
Pardon?
I used to average 20 points a game, Bill.
Yeah,
Just so you know, for the
I
record.
heard, the fire marshal, Mr. Provencher, yeah, he says he has the gym record for scoring one game. Yeah. And I gave him.
We'll have to check the minutes on that.
Yeah, and I gave him the Kevin McHale line that it's a black hole. Once the ball goes into him, it never came back out. But anyhow, on each end of and in addition to the physical requirements for the youth service center, is that they also had an idea that it's at some point in the future very similar to what they have right now, the ability to locate a pool next to the center. Or very close by the center. And so that was in the back of our mind how it would fit on the site of the existing site. So as a point of reference, the gym has, on the east and the west end, they have on the east end is what used to be the locker rooms, and it's a two-story structure, and they actually had it as the library for the school. That's about 1,100 square feet. On the far west end, which is the furthest part from where we're sitting right now, was the stage, and it's also a two-story stage, but they had theater productions and meetings there and such, and that's also 1,100 square feet. Excuse me. If you take those, and then those, they're separated from the structure by a block and steel wall. So we assume that they're structural and can't be removed. So it's maybe they could. I haven't had a structural engineer look at it, but so that's your floor plan. Your gym itself ends up being approximately 7,300 square feet of usable floor space. And let me get my glasses, which is nice. Excuse me. To give you some idea of the existing basketball court as it is today, which is obviously the floor and everything else is a shot, but the actual layout of the basketball court is 45.3 feet by 77.3 feet. As a point of comparison, a high school gymnasium is 50 by 84 feet. A junior high school court is 42 by 74 feet. So the existing court is bigger than a junior high school court, smaller than a high school court. And that's, there's some exciting areas too, but in terms of what exists right now. The, excuse me, other court dimensions, when we met with them in terms of what other activities they have at at Lamagna. They have pickleball, which has gotten to be very popular. And so if the pickleball court dimensions are 20 feet by 44 feet, which is also the same size as a badminton court, which I did not know. So with the existing footprint, at Lamagna, they can do 1 court. Here you could easily do 3 courts. I mean, if you didn't take anything away from the gym area. Their volleyball courts are quite a bit larger, more so for the outer area. They have to move outside of the court area. And you could probably get 2 full-size courts. When I give you these dimensions, understand I took dimensions based on like high school size or national standards. For instance, basketball courts are all over the lot as far as junior courts and everything else. So it's just, the point is it's a large open area. So the question came in, so we started knowing that that you had the square footage to put the youth service center inside the gym. But if you tried to keep the gym, we prepared a plan. This is a plan that you have, Mayor? This is the,
Yep.
Okay. And we took out, there are 2 large requirements. There's an activity center, which is large, about 2,000 square feet, which they use. And then which is the largest chunk. And there's also a classroom, which is like a good sized classroom. Then there's a conference room. We took those bigger pieces and tried to the most part put them within the envelope. So we ended up this plan, and this is just a schematic, just a concept plan of how it could work. And you ended up with the gymnasium, the existing gymnasium, 9,500 square feet, and then approximately a 3,500 square foot addition. It's all on one level, which one of the problems with Lamagna is they're on the second floor rather than the first floor. This would all be on grade. There would be no second floor. You actually would have the ability to do a second floor within the gym structure if you wanted to put offices, because it's high enough to do that, but we didn't go there. This doesn't address code issues. It doesn't address safety. It doesn't anything other than physically having the ability to put what can fit on the site or in the site or adjacent to the site. So what the bottom line comes down to is how much of the gym you want to save. I personally think and that's just me speaking, that's not my decision. It's really, you couldn't replace that gym. You're going to do it now. Yeah, it's just simple as that. It's an extraordinary gym, and it will be extraordinary once it's renovated. But then again, it's a lot of space, and they only asked for 3,500 square feet, and we're at not 7,500 square feet of floor area. So it all works. I would leave the locker room where it is because of the plumbing and everything else relative to a possible future pool. The stage, there's 2 theater groups have knocked on our door about wanting to use the stage for youth theater. You can remove it. It's not structural, but it's a nice thing to have. And as Mr. Bronson touched on, and when you look at the cost structure, obviously brand new construction on grade is the most expensive route for a bunch of reasons. Putting facilities inside an existing structure is about 1/3 of the cost, only because you already have a roof, you already have a floor, you already have you have everything. But then again, you lose the floor area. So I'm not a proponent of either one, other than I played basketball, for my entire life, and I love basketball gyms, but it's bigger. Bottom line, it's bigger than they put in their requirement. But before you go down that path, I think it should be thought to try to maintain it.
I'd just like to say, Mayor, he doesn't have a preference, but he has a love and a passion. That's what brought us together for the former. But he's a pragmatist and a realist, and he knew we can go with the functional, and it's less, or we can go with something that we'll probably have there for 100 years that would be more in the short term, but very much less in the long term. It will preserve a lot of memories, and it would be I think, a very impressive center. But again, we have to make tough choices. The budget will be coming up. I'll be addressing some points on that during the town manager report. But this is something that squarely should lie in the council's court. You don't have to make the decision tonight. If you have sort of a sense, I didn't want him to proceed any further, and we have to make our plans for my address to you in September, December. So we'll kind of need a consensus before then, but we thought this would be an opportunity for you to hear about it, ask questions, and then we can kind of formulate a consensus shortly so that he can plan accordingly. Thank you.
I'm going to give you my opinion right away. I agree. The gym has to stay the way it is. The stage has to stay the way it is. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, and it's too bad people who haven't had a chance to use that gym or play or do some on the stage. I agree with you. It is rare. Yeah. And I think I agree. I think at some point, I would love to be able to have competitions, be able to play there because it's a unique perspective. And if your child's ever played AAU basketball, whether it be girls or boys, I think you know this as well as I. A lot of these they just put them in like a. They put some steel and they put a couple courts, and it's the most generic thing you've ever played in. This is very unique. It's very unique. And so I can tell you my opinion is that, and I think people need to understand it's part of the plan where, again, at some point we're going to move people out of Lamagna and, sell Lamagna in the Strand. So, again, we're not just taking Bill, we're actually unloading and then investing that money in a building that, quite frankly, should be invested in. So I'm okay with everything as long as the gym stays the way it is. We make it look even a little better than it was. The stage stays. I agree. I know there's groups in town who could use that, for teaching dancing. I know there's a lot who come up to trying to find some space. It would be a perfect location. So that's just my opinion. And so I'll stop there. Councilor Riley, Councilor Sbraza, and Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Okay, so if I was hearing correctly, and I could be wrong, on this left side where you have all the staff offices,
Yes.
that has the capability of having a second floor.
Yes.
So,
We didn't do that yet because there are limitations as far as at what point you have to put in an elevator, at what
Okay.
point you have to put in so we just left everything on the first floor to
Yeah.
begin with.
so hypothetically, since I'm on facilities, we could, if we had enough room, have a second story there and put social services up there. And then we could sell the other building on Pearl Street.
That's an option. We have a proposal for moving social services and selling High Street currently, and that's what we'll be presenting in December. But certainly that's something he can look at.
Yeah.
Again, I try to offer you a wide range. It's sort of like, we make things severable that pick this. Remember, he came forward with the cost just to rehabilitate and renovate the gym and the theater, which is a third of the cost of doing. But we needed to say, look, we want to get rid of Lamagna because it's so costly. And in our proposal, you'll see how much money it's going to take to bring up really to current standards. And it doesn't make any sense to put that much money into an older building that really is not what we need. It's dysfunctional, really. But that's an option. That's something we could look at. But we do have a proposal where social service can go currently in an existing building and be able to sell High Street. So
Okay.
Stay tuned for that. We've addressed, like I say, in December, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. All of our proposals are going to result in selling older buildings.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
So we got to be quick. Councilor Sbraza.
I don't know if you know the answer. You probably do know the answer. The church, right next door, is still owned by the Archdiocese of Hartford, correct?
Okay. It's actually owned not by the Hartford Archdiocese, even though they control any disposition of it.
Right.
It used to be the Townsville Church Corporation of Enfield, which when it was first formed. Now it's a combined parish, and they changed it. It's now St. Raymond of Pennafort.
Right. So that's who controls it now?
Pardon? Yeah, it's still controlled by the parish, but for instance, when I bought the school, being part of and this was back when it was St. Adalbert's of Thompsonville, they can negotiate a sale, but then they got to go to the Hartford Archdiocese to allow it to be sold. I don't know why that is, but
And even more importantly, the building just to the west of that, What a tremendous eyesore.
Okay, that was
That
a,
convent has been closed 40 years. It must be toxic in there.
I sent, I believe, a letter to the council in your packet this weekend that there's been an outreach by the church and the diocese for us to take that over. It's just, we've had so much to do, we didn't have a chance to talk about it tonight, but Bill has recommended to them, they talked to us. That's part of the access and use for Higgins.
Okay.
And again, I didn't want to overwhelm you. The last 2 meetings, we've done a lot of work, but I put that in your packet. It's public. There was an offer for us to talk to them. We probably will, just to see, maybe they want to give it to us, Councilman Bosco.
Yeah, listen.
We'll see.
I mentioned that to him when I was there.
Yeah. So we'll be following up on that and reporting in the December meeting, but thank you for reminding me, Councilor Sferrazza.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Suzak, then Councilor Bosco. Sorry, go ahead, Bill.
well, I was going to say, the whole, like, touching on council comment, this goes back to Higgins Park. When we first talked about how Higgins Park would work, and I'm a city kid. I grew up in this Chicago, and we had pocket parks. We had, like rec
Right.
centers that were part of, not big, couple of acres, but my thought was, if you had the convent, and I think I sent a letter to you that I said to talk to the town directly, and you could come from the north side of Thompsonville and have either a bike path or a parking area, I don't care, or walking, or someone taking a dog for a walk. The number of people, actually today I was just here, two of my tenants are just walking their dogs here as I was out waiting for you. Nice night to be out there, but it just, I thought it was an illogical flow, so that if you're a young kid on a bike or walking, you don't have to go all the way around and through, and then you're going to pick up parking and access and work something with the church, because the church, one of their, and I know this personally, is that when they have functions, they're short of parking too. Not huge parking, but just to be functioning, they need parking too. But anyway, yes, you're absolutely way ahead, and the convent's been closed for 30 years. I can give you the estimates for asbestos removal and demolition. We had looked at it, as far as, it does make sense to renovate. It will never make sense to renovate. And I know that they are planning on just getting rid of one way or the other. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
your time, you're Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Okay, so on that social services, the BL report, they suggested that social services go to the Alcorn, but we have other options. So that building's already been given onto our list. Okay, so been on leisure since I got on the council. First thing on was the fact that we don't have a basketball court for adult male basketball. And then if we go to a smaller court, that would still negate us being able to use it for that. And I know, wearing these masks is terrible. The stage, you're going to have safety things for that. That probably will need work to move forward with something like that. That's all I have.
All right, no worries. Councilor Bosco, then Councilor Ongaya.
Well, if possible, monetary-wise, I'd like to have an idea how much it would do both, but I'd love to keep that gym just the way it is and add on to it. And, I don't want to cut ourselves short, just like the parcel that we talked about earlier. We're better off spending the money now and getting it over with. The rectory, that's one of the things I said to him, that would be beautiful. That way you can come in right in from Alden Avenue. We control all that property, and it'd be the best way to do it. But the only thing I would say is, if you have time, maybe for the counselors that didn't go see it, to
Sure.
get them out there again and take a look at it, because it is a beautiful building, and
Right.
I think
You're
it'd be a
right.
real asset.
Great idea, Joe. We'll have Debbie and Kosh will make note of it, and we'll schedule another tour.
Yeah, I'm there every day. Okay.
All set,
That's it.
Councilor?
Yep.
Councilor Ongaya?
That was you meant the convent, not the rectory, right?
Yes.
Okay, the convent's a white building that we
Right.
renovated, okay, I just want to make, okay,
Hi.
I'm Catholic, I know all these buildings,
Well, we just need the access to get
Yeah,
in
sure,
there.
I'm 100% on board with that makes a lot of sense.
I'd be a big proponent to keep the gym just the way it is. I attended school there. I'd hate to say and admit how many years ago as a child I had art shows there. I did performances on the stage, played in that gym, attended games there. It's just a beautiful gym. However, I did have one question. If you have all that activity going on at the gym, how does that coincide with the residents that live there? Is there any concern with noise, traffic?
No, because what'll happen there's two things that you think about right off that. Number one is noise, okay, because obviously you're having, first of all, there's limited hours, but you have horns going off at the end of games. People says that. The building by now, if you tour it, the gym is considered a separate structure by the building code right now. It's a 3-hour rated wall and extends beyond the units on both sides. So maybe that one unit right adjacent to, do you remember where the kitchen used to be? That's now a unit, okay? But that wall has been sealed. There's no more penetrations through that wall. But from a parking standpoint and activity standpoint, I had a site plan, something I should have brought, is that everything is really oriented to the south. It has nothing to do with the school. I have plenty of parking. And I also have the ability to put some more parking in front of the former school if I needed it. But it'll have no impact, only because you have the ability to come from this side. That's, not the site itself.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else have any questions? Anything in closing? Want to make sure you have it.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say about basketball courts is that I stopped about 10 years, I'm 66 now, so about 8 years ago I stopped playing. But you're always looking for a quality place to play basketball.
Right.
Not a bandbox, just a decent court. People forget on this school that the gym stayed open quite a bit longer than the school. And the number of people who continued to play there, you're going to make up your decision. That's not my decision. But once you lose the gym and we infill, it's gone. It's not what it was, and that's okay. But when I hope I can show it to you, it looks pretty rough because it had nothing been done to it. But it's an asset that you really should maintain, and that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, and I'm glad you said that because I think you should give your opinion on that because I agree. If you have never been in that gym, it is a unique place to play basketball. It's unique, and not even to the stage as well.
Right.
I mean, again, we're also trying to develop theater in town. All the things that we're doing. Sometimes there's just things that are just different than everything else, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those good things that are just different than everything. I agree with you. It would be a shame if we're going to spend the money and we don't renovate it to exactly the way it was. 100% agree with you. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, thank you. Thank you for your time, Bill. I think we have at least a sense of the consensus. We'll schedule the tour. And again, nothing's etched in stone. We'll proceed under the assumption we want to do the addition. And again, this is all going to be subject to the presentation we do in December and then things you agree to, what we can do. I'm hopeful we can do a lot outside of the actual budget process and no requirement of referendum because we're going to be saving a lot of money by the recommendations that we're going to be proposing to you in December. And again, Bill was instrumental. He actually paid for and did the Higgins Park design with his architects for us, and part of it was that access through the convent area for dog park and the rest of it. So this would be quite an amazing situation that the town would control here. It's a beautiful vision. It's very doable, and I'll tell you, we've already prepared. I thank Kasha for all of her work with Bill and Youth Services, but also she's put together a bond request. And for those at home, as I've said, we should get our appropriate share of state funding for these projects. Other towns do. We've prepared the bond request for monies for this. We'll be proposing it and hopefully getting all of our legislators to endorse it and sign on. So stay tuned.
And again, in closing, there's fairness. I mean, public-private partnerships, we talk about it all the time. And you're one of our ongoing public-private partnerships that, again, both trying to help the public out and, of course, you as a developer. So we certainly appreciate you being a partner with the town.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for your time.
Again, thank you for being patient. We apologize for the delay.
Oh, that's okay. And this is just the same thing with dimensions, And I'll wait to hear for when you want to take a look at it. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate
I don't
it.
see you. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You as well.
You're good.
All right, so we're already in a special meeting. We can go right into the regular council meeting. Sorry, folks, we are at 7:13. Tonight is Monday, November 16, 2020. This is the regular meeting of the Enfield Town Council. Prayer by Councilor Ungary.
Heavenly Father, during this Thanksgiving season, help us to focus on the good that we see, despite the tumultuous year we've had with all its challenges. Help us to be sowers of peace and seekers of truth. Protect us from the froward and those that are malevolent. This season, help us to be generous in all we do, especially with our time, our love, and our giving to others. Bless Enfield this Thanksgiving, and especially those who are suffering with great losses in their family. And we ask this in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Undire.
Here.
Counselor Knoxville.
Here.
Counselor Sakala.
Here.
Counselor Himmler.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Manchini.
Here.
Counselor Miller. Still not, he's.
Yeah, sorry, Suzanne. Yeah, he's absent. Yep.
Okay. Counselor Riley.
Here.
Counselor Straza.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Here.
There's 9 present, 1 is absent.
Thank you, Suzanne. Item 4, fire evacuation. In case of a fire, we have doors that right to our left and to the audience's right. Please orderly go out the doors into the parking lot, or we can go to the doors to our left to the audience right. Go out the first door, down the stairs, and again, orderly out into the parking lot in case of a fire. Moving on to item 5, minutes of preceding meetings. We have none to approve tonight. Item 6, we're moving into special guests. Todd Mathewson from our Water Pollution Control. Sir, and Donald, you want to come up first, Donald? Yeah.
I'd like them, yes, they can, Donald can come up first.
Yeah.
We just thought with COVID, we've had this delayed a little bit. We've had this gentleman on board for a few months during some very trying and difficult times, 5 months. He was a godsend, and I mean that in every sense of the word. He is one of the most accomplished, talented persons in his field. His degrees and being a Class 4 operator, they are as rare as hen's teeth in the state of Connecticut. So to get somebody with his credentials is amazing. He has very good, and I have his resume. It's too complicated to read. His degrees, his past service, he was over 10 years in charge in stores, 10 years before that. So he has a very sustained track record of 10 years. If we can keep him that long, we'll be blessed. But I will just say what all of our water pollution control folks and Donald have had to endure during the upgrade of that plant over the last 10 years has been unbelievable. It has been such a trying time to operate the plant. You know how critical that is. Plus the hurricanes, plus the wind events, plus COVID, and to try to do your job while people are doing construction around you to stay safe not only from the regular dangers of the plant, which are many, and now superimposed with COVID, with having all these workers come in every day, and then the construction of that equipment and pits and cranes and all of that has been amazing. He has come in. I have heard nothing but remarkable reports from him. So we wanted to introduce him, not only so you would get to know him, but also so our residents would know how fortunate we are to have him on board. And we look forward to, hopefully by the end of the year, having the grand open and a ribbon cutting out there at Water Pollution Control. Donald, with that, you can introduce Mr. Todd Mathewson.
Welcome, sir. Name and title, and you have the floor.
Donald Nunes, Director of Public Works. I wore this today for you, for Mayor Lou.
I mean, is there any?
This is my Bruins.
Is there any kind of season anymore? I mean,
January 1st.
Sorry, folks on the phone, if you could just mute, please, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. You have the floor.
Yeah, so I couldn't possibly top what Chris said about Todd. But again, he did start about five months ago, and he came in at the very what is the tail end of this project. And just a whirlwind of activity trying to get the contractors out of there, trying to get things complete, trying to get things online, offline, helping the contractor, helping us just to get out of there. And I have nothing but high regards for Todd. There's been some challenging situations out there that noise, smells, other things that when this is all over, I don't know what he's going to be doing because it said with this, the whole construction, it's so.
Stays easy after this?
I think it's going to be a cakewalk for Todd afterwards, but he's probably smiling or not underneath that. But I think it's just going to be a home run. And I am so pleased to have him on board and part of DPW. Again, he's just going to come up and he's going to talk about where we're going and what he's done and what we're going. So
Thank you, sir.
I yield my time to Todd. So.
Thank you, Donald.
Mr. Mathewson, you have the floor, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much.
Again, welcome, and you have the floor, and again, you can speak what you would like to. And welcome to Enfield.
Thank you. Donald, thank you for the kind words. Thank you. I hope I live up to your expectations, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve the residents of Enfield. Yes, it has been challenging, but the worst of it's behind us. All the major construction is now complete. We are moving into punch list, smaller projects. We are actually moving into automation. And after that, we are going to set new goals. We're going to take a new challenge. We've put in approximately, we're working with Jeffrey on the maintenance program. You put in a lot of very expensive, very specialized equipment. We want to make sure that equipment stays maintained and lasts a good long time at its peak efficiency. Our list is already up to 700, we'll just say over 700 and still climbing, of new pieces of equipment that have to be maintained. So that's our next biggest challenge. Now that we have everything in place, how are we going to take care of it and to ensure that we can do so in the future? The presses, amazing. You get some really nice equipment down there. The presses that you used to have forced you folks to put in a second shift, and you were doing about 6 to 7 trailers a week. The new presses, we are able to do 3 loads a week at a much thicker concentration during normal work hours, where we officially eliminated second shift starting as of last week. I could talk all night long because I'm very passionate about what I do. Perhaps I should just say thank you for the opportunity, and if you folks have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Nothing more exciting than water pollution control. It really isn't.
It is
We agree.
actually very exciting, and then
I'll have to say, I don't know if what Donald said is ever going to be true. It's going to be a cakewalk over there, but I think it's going to be markedly improved.
Anyone? Okay, cakewalk. All right, we got it. All right. Anyone have any questions for Todd? Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Please.
Councilor Bosco.
You know, a few years back, we talked about the treatment plant before we even started all this and making the cake into energy. How, do we make enough cake, or can we get cake, or?
We do not.
We do not.
We do not have the solids loading. So the only reason why it's a complicated question. That would be an incinerator, there'd be a Title V permit, it would be, I don't believe it would be in the town's best interest. At one of my facilities, we actually did some studies looking into that actual thing, and the amount of solids you have to generate. Even the MDC walked away from it. They were trying to do composting and things of that nature, and they just did not find it a.
And just to clarify for those at home, we're not talking about the cakes you get at the bakery. And suffice my children, they would say, TMI, Dad, TMI, too much information, so we'll leave it at there.
This is the most exciting hour on TV right now.
Our viewership is shooting,
Right,
it's going up.
This is going to be the most watched segment ever.
Thank you.
You had something to say before.
My door is always open. You can always call down to the facility if you have any questions or concerns.
And when it's open, we'll have, like I say, the grand opening, the ribbon cutting, we'll all be invited. It's quite an accomplishment. I just want to remind everybody at home, this again was a council initiative that we were under some orders by the DEEP. We were confronted with fines. The facility was badly outdated, and it was at risk of failure. The council committed, and because we did it in a timely way, 2 years, it went by very quickly. It was a great investment. It was about $36 million. We got several million in grants from the Clean Water Fund. We got money from the state because of the agreement we have with them on water usage. We got low interest loans at a very good time, so we did very well. But I will let you know that this will give us expanded ability and capacity there, which is going to benefit us for future economic growth. And I will tell you, some area towns don't have that. Their water pollution control plants haven't been updated. The cost is going to be astronomical. And because of that, they're losing economic development, because they say to somebody that comes in, well, if you want to increase the capacity, you've got to pay for an upgrade of $5 to $10 million. So Enfield, again, was visionary. They were a leader in this. We took a bad situation, and we really did a great job with it. And the fruits of that will be apparent to everybody, hopefully around January, where we'll have you out there. So again, I will remind you to the Novak report, talked about adding individuals there. Just to touch upon what Todd said, we don't want to put in $36 million and have a state-of-the-art facility and not take care of it, not maintain it, not have the personnel to do that. So Novak recommended to hire certain individuals. We didn't put it in the budget, and we came to council and said, we'll wait until we get an expert on board like Todd. This budget season, he will make a recommendation of that personnel that we will need to keep this plant running. And as Donna knows, we've gone a long way with Jeff Lenowitz. We are not only looking towards the future with the roads and roof referendum, taking care of what we have, but we're doing that in every building with all our pieces of equipment so that our investment is being protected and we'll get decades out of it, not spend $10 million on something and a couple years later say we didn't do the required maintenance and now it's no good. We've changed that around. It's a 180. So we'll be looking forward and we'll have recommendations this budget about the staffing under the Novak report. Thank you.
You know, Todd, Chris brought up a question. So as we move forward with the capacity levels, we talk about economic development, but also regionalization. Is there an opportunity, again, not to put you in a spot, with our capacity at some point where maybe we can actually help other towns out so we can get paid to take the
During
cake?
a drought condition?
Something.
My initial observation is definitely.
Cool. I mean, I think that's what people need to understand. Also, part of this is that there is the vision that maybe, again, as Enfield is our location, a regional center, that these are the things that not that we're going to get there tomorrow, but the things that we're thinking 5 years down the road already. And maybe it's not 5 years, maybe it's 2 years.
The capacity of facility
Right.
is in a very good position right now. There is room for growth. However, we probably will have to go and visit some sections of the collection system to correct I&I problems. Once those are corrected, yes, you have plenty of capacity. And I didn't want to jump in and say, hey, we need to hire people. I want to have a matrix base, something with numbers, get the maintenance program going, let's see what we can do, and then we'll go from there before we come back. We'll give you a full report on what we can do and what we can't do.
We heard Donald agree with you. Back then. So, I mean, in closing, anything, first of all, welcome to Enfield.
Thank you.
You know, again, we're glad you're here, and I know we're certainly, it's funny, we're excited about the opening of that plant. And so, but I don't, in closing, if anything you want to add to the residents, again, we welcome to Enfield.
I'm just very appreciative to be here, and I think I can do a lot of good things for the residents of Enfield.
Good to hear, and again, thank you. Nice meeting you, and again, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Donald.
Thank you.
Moving right over to item 7, public communications. Again, we have no one in the audience, so we move on to item 8, council communications. Any communications from the councilors? Councilor Mangini?
Just wanted to congratulate the town of Enfield and the vendors for the Farmers Market Sunday. It was phenomenal, and I believe it was a great success, and going forward, I think it's going to grow, and I'm really proud of that. That's great. Thanks, Chris. And I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have? Deputy Mayor Suzak?
I just want to remind everybody that it is leaf season. Get out there, clean up your leaves. Don't let them blow in your neighbor's yard. Won't make you a good neighbor. I spent the first hour and a half this morning out there cleaning South Road and Willstar Circle. So get out there, clean your storm drains. You will be happy when the water goes down the storm drain instead of flooding into your home or your neighbors or making the roads hazardous. So there's a lot of things that we as citizens can do to help make this town a little bit better. So remember, be a good neighbor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Bosco?
I haven't received any comments or questions on the trash. I just want to implore everyone to make sure that if they have a question or they have something they're wondering about, please call, because eventually it'll be too late and then there will be no time to complain.
Councilor Hemler?
The Winter Farmers Market was awesome. Great job, Chris. And really looking forward to it all year, and I'm sure it is going to grow. I've already talked to a couple people as well. And I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you. I'm going to be very quick. I want to congratulate all our athletes, from young 4-year-old to our seniors in high school who competed in their sports under very trying conditions, went out there and played their sport. unfortunately, a lot of their parents weren't allowed or their friends to see the games as a normal season would be. But we want to thank the kids for continuing to go out there and compete and to represent Enfield. And hopefully we get through this quicker than later, and we can get back to going and watch all our kids compete in all their sports as we move into the winter season. Hopefully they're able to play the sports that they love. But again, I want to congratulate the kids who continue to show up, and of course the parents who bring them.
Okay. Go now.
Anyone else? And again, last thing, Deputy Mayor Suzak?
Is everybody else set?
Yep.
Okay, motion to suspend the rules and move items A1, A2, B1, E, and F to miscellaneous and proceed to vote.
Motion made to suspend rules by Deputy Mayor Suzak, by Councilor Riley, excuse me. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, by a show of hands, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We have 9 in favor, 0 against. We move on to Town Manager Report.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I, too, would like to comment on the Enfield Winners Farmers Market. The summer market was a great success. As you know, we actually extended it a month longer by popular demand, and we had over 80 vendors, which was remarkable for our first year. Because people asked us and the vendors, could we find an indoor venue? I'm going to let Kasha give a report. That was Kasha's idea. What about the square? We reached out to NAMDAR, and they were gracious partners. They immediately said yes. And I have to tell you, Lori Witten worked very hard. It takes a lot of time and effort to put this together because we were required to work with the North Central Health Department on short notice, and I thank them and Patrice because safety comes first with us. It did in the outdoor market, even more so in the indoor market. Although I will let all of our residents know, come out and see it. As everyone who came, Kelly and the mayor and Donna and Cindy, it's bigger than the town green in there, for goodness sake, and we have everything well spaced. And I will thank Public Works, who again rises to the occasion and on about 24-hour notice did all one-way signs because you want people going in one direction. There's appropriate distancing. Everybody's wearing masks. The chief brought on short notice our Enfield Explorers, our young assistants and volunteers who someday want to be in law enforcement, there to assist people, help with the direction. It was very successful. I would like to. Like I said, thank Donald and Public Works for those signs. The outdoor signs, they got up in one day. We're going to be adding some additional ones. I'd like to thank NAMDAR. I'd like to thank Debbie, who was there on Sunday taking pictures of all the vendors to post on our social media. And I will tell you, it was exciting because since then, yesterday, we've had 6 more vendors sign up. Well, our problem is going to be there. I think we're going to run out of space indoors, and that's a nice problem to have. We have very low. I'll tell you one. I'll just have to, because I'm so excited. It's just such a wonderful endeavor. And one of the vendors does cupcakes, and when they realized we were going to be there for Sunday, she got $200 in advanced orders overnight. So I think it's going to be a good success. It's a fun, family, and safe event, and it shows the potential that Enfield has. Mike, you talk about regional leader. We are. And our star is rising again. And this is an example of it. And I will call out, we're hoping that the local press, we had some there. We did a little ribbon cutting, and former Chief Sferaza was there as well. He was there for the opening of the summer one. I thank all of you for your support. All of you, literally, I've seen there and have come to it. Lori, too. Joe, we were only missing you. Joey's going to come and he's going to sell some eggs.
That's right.
I hope at the next one.
He has to sell some eggs, yeah.
And one of the big draws and being innovative with the Department of Health that hopefully Golden Irene's is going to be there to do their brick oven pizza right outside Target. So I think it's going to be a wonderful event, and we're going to continue with it. And I would ask also Abigail, she did a wonderful job from the JI talking about our garden plots and also the basketball courts. And I ask you, Abigail, please do a story on this. It's a great community story, and we want everybody to come out and enjoy it, especially before Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I will tell you, when last week I talked about and asked for farmers, we did. We got 2 farmers who had fresh produce there. So it's been wonderful, and I think everybody would like to come out and enjoy it. One thing I'm going to ask, Mr. Mayor, and just by a head nod, we'll put it on the next agenda. The town attorney advised me that sometimes we can do things retroactively. Lego, as you know, every year comes forward and gives us a grant of $54,000 for Stowe, for a lot of the activities there and for salaries. They gave an email to us Sunday, and I got it today, saying they'd like to increase it to $100,000, but I have to sign it by Friday. So with your acclamation, I will sign it for Friday, and we'll put it on the December 7th meeting for formal approval, and the town attorney tells me that that's appropriate. We don't want to miss out on that almost $50,000. They have been so gracious, and again, such a wonderful partner with the town, helping our young people. It's just incredible, and especially now more than ever. And with that, Kasia, you want to add anything on any of the?
Chris, I think you covered it really well. Just that we're always interested in making sure we have enough farmers to be considered a farmers market. So again, just an appeal if any farmers are interested in watching to reach out to us. And I think that's all I had. I went this weekend as well and had a great time. And really, everybody came together and did such a great job on this. So I'm very excited to be going back this fall or winter.
Thank you for all of your hard work. And we have a lot of staff people and town employees that come as well, that love it. And they come from a distance, some of them, to support it. We got an email today I sent to you and just said what a wonderful time she had with her daughter. And she spent a lot of money. And that's what we want to encourage people to do for our local Enfield economy. And I'm available for any questions, Mr.
Councilor
Mayor.
Bosco.
So what does someone have to do to be able to get a spot there?
Joey, it's very simple. We have an online application, and we don't need the public health department to do it unless it is, more serving of fresh food. I don't think eggs would come under that, but if you talk to Debbie tomorrow, like I say, we approved 6 today for Sunday. So if anybody out there would like to come of any sort, craft, farmer,
Honey, remember honey?
any of those things, just go online or call Debbie McCarthy at the town manager's office, and she'll put you in touch with Connie Preventure, and we'll get you on the list, and we'll get you a spot. As I say, our real challenge now is to have space there to do it. And I do want to give, I was remiss, one shout out. It's nice dealing with Namdar, who owns it. They're wonderful. They're corporate people. They've been good neighbors. But I want to tell you, we have a great partner and an Enfield resident in Melinda. She is the manager of the mall. She's an Enfield resident for the last 20 years. She was very, very happy to see all of the life and the enthusiasm and the people there, and she's been great. So I'd like to thank her, and it's so nice that she's one of our own town residents. So just contact Debbie, and we'll get you the online application. If somebody needs approval from the Department of Health, we'll help with that, and Connie Prevention then will hopefully be able to find you a spot. So come on down.
No, and I agree. I think, folks got to, there's a good vibe. I mean, it's something about karma. There's a good vibe, and people got to get that good vibe back through all this
And just so
stuff
people know, we had about,
right.
I think, Mayor, we had about 46 vendors, so this should put us over 50, and that's almost at max. But we're going to be looking to see if we can expand into another area safely. And I think, I don't want to turn anybody away. I've said, accept everybody. We'll find a place for you.
And to your point, Melinda, partner, she's already talking about doing some murals to make it fun for the holiday. I mean, for your kids. I mean, get out.
Well, I just want to remember
a little bit of your life, have some fun.
We all remember, was it last year? There was an article about how sad the square was for Christmas.
Right.
And it was heartbreaking. Not this year.
Right.
It's going to be beautiful.
I just want to recognize you, Kasia, Deb, and of course Steve Melinda, who came with I think it was his spouse. So again, our staff showing up, and I'm sure there's others, so I apologize if I missed anybody. But again, staff coming and supporting the things that we're doing. And it's just nice that we take a different approach. We're not looking to shut everything down. We're looking to try to live within guidelines, keep it safe, but also do stuff. Make you feel like a human being again. And it's great that we continue to try to do that. And Patrice has been fantastic. Again, Patrice Sulik from the Department of Health, who is a partner. I mean, when you talk about a partner, we talk about private-public partnerships. This is a public-public partnership. And she has been nothing but a partner. And I think folks got to realize how important the Department of Health has been in us really unpeeling the onion and getting people confident again, which again, I know she's behind the scenes, but it's very important. So again, I agree with you. It was a really good vibe. And it's nice to have good vibes once in a while, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Any other questions for our town manager? Hearing none, move on to item 10, town attorney report.
Thank you,
Attorney
Mr.
Talbert.
Mayor. There is no public report tonight.
Any questions for our town attorney? Moving on to item 11, any reports from any special committees, people, or Deputy Mayor Suzak?
Facilities had the annex presentation of the annex pool, and I was wondering if maybe we could get 10 minutes with the council, and Jeff could bring the presentation that he did for all the renovations to the council, so you can see the work that was done, in conjunction with the pre-ref, the recreation, leisure, and the facilities. So It's all
That's a great
together.
point, and I know- and I know
And I'll tell Jeff it has to be 10 minutes.
Great.
I mean, that's another point that we've accomplished. through
It's
all
another-
this. I mean,
it's another success
right, I
story.
mean, Deputy Mayor, great point about the pool. I mean, we.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Excellent
Maybe for
point. It
next
was a
meeting
great
we'll have them.
success
Yep.
story, and they're very proud of it. So yes, we will do that. Kasha's listing, and she'll write it down for our staff meeting, and we'll have Debbie put it on for our next meeting.
No, great suggestion. Any other reports from any special committees? Hearing none, we move to item 12 on page 1, item old business, item A, 1, 2, and 3, again, remain on the table. On page 2, 4 through 14 remain on the table. Item B under old business, town manager appointed, council approved, on the bottom of page 2. Item 1 stays on the table, 2 through 14 on page 3 stay on the table. Top of page 4, 15 and 16, again, we have no appointments. Item C, appointments, P&Z Commission appointed, council approved, there are none. New business, there is no consent agenda on item A. Again, no, item B, there's no appointments by the town council. Item C, there's no appointments by the town manager. Item D, there's no appointments by P&Z appointed, council approved. Item E, discussion resolution of MOU for the fire districts stays on the table. Moving to item 14, items for discussion. Items A, 1, and 2 have been moved to miscellaneous. Item B1 has been moved to miscellaneous. Item B2 stays on the table as we just got the resignation in. Item C, town manager appointed, council approved, there are none. Item D, appointments, P&Z Commission appointed, council approved, again, there are none. Items E and F have been moved to miscellaneous. Moving to miscellaneous, item 15. I'm sorry, one second. On the consent agenda. Item 1 is a resolution request for transfer funds for Family Resource Center of $7,400. And item 2 under A2 is a request for transfer funds for the police department on the annual Click It or Ticket grant. I don't know if anyone has any questions. If not, it's on the consent agenda. Pretty straightforward, 2 grants. Hearing none, all those by a show of hands who are in favor of the consent agenda, raise your hand. Items A, 1 and 2. Those opposed? Abstentions? Suzanne, we have 8 in favor and 0 against. Councilman Bosco stepped out. Moving on to item B1 under miscellaneous. Housing Authority reappointment, the term of Mark Sicario expired on 11/30/2020, and this will be a reappointment. Do I have a nomination, please? Councilor Speraza.
Mark Sicaro.
Nomination made. Do I have a second? Seconded by
Second.
Deputy Mayor Suzak. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
Close.
By Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Councilor Ungar. All those in favor of closing nominations by show of hands? Opposed, abstentions, 9 in favor, 0 against to close nominations. There's any discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, Suzanne, roll call, please.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Bosco. 4. Counselor Sakala.
Mark Sicaro?
Counselor Himmler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
Mark Sicaro.
Counselor Riley.
4.
Counselor Straza.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Mark Sicaro.
There's 9 in favor, none against, no abstent, or yes.
Thank you.
10 in favor.
Thank you, Suzanne. Item E, discussion resolution, request for, under miscellaneous, request to transfer funds for assisted building official position in the building department of $52,505. Resolve that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the town charter, the following transfer is hereby made. To the building inspection department of $52,505 from our general fund revenue out of the building and mechanical out of $52,505. Certified that the above funds are available on November 5th, 2020 by our Director of Finance, John Wilcox, and approved by our Town Manager, Christopher Bromson.
So moved.
By Councilor Riley. Second by Councilor Ungary. What did I miss? Was that Councilor Mangini? I apologize if I got it wrong. Sir, right ahead. Sorry.
Thank you.
I will make sure I call. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a critical position at a critical time. We've supplied to you the actual facts and the numbers in a separate memo about the remarkable increase in building permits. If you look, we give the dollars and cents, but basically since 2019, we've seen an increase of 10% in building permits with a construction value increase of over 275%. So over last year, 2019 to this year, that's $97 million. So what we don't want is when we have major companies coming in and we're doing the renovation of the middle school, and you have Agrimark coming in, and you have the solar farm coming in. The last thing we need for these developers who are investing 50, 100 million in town and trying to get schools done on time is to say, we can't get a building permit. And we have in our chief building inspector, Ray Stedward, an incredible person. He's come, the council has met him. We were fortunate to get him. He's well-known in the industry. He had been here earlier in his career. He came back. And, you know, I didn't hear anything from Ray about them being overwhelmed. And they work so hard with the two deputies, and they've been short-staffed because of various reasons, and we've tried to get people up to steam. COVID didn't help, and our building inspectors came in every day, and they went out and did inspections every day. But given this huge increase, they're unable to keep up. And then I had heard from some council, from maybe a commercial resident or a homeowner, especially in the summer, geez, I'm trying to get my pool permit, it's over 30 days, and somebody else, it's been 40 days. And you know what? They don't want to hear from me, well, we're overwhelmed and it's COVID and we'll get to it. They want to get it done, and I want to get it done for them. And when I heard that Ray, and I had Kasha look into this with Lori Witten, who's the head of the department, and I found out all of the hours that Ray and his people were putting in that they weren't getting compensated for. When I heard that Ray's coming in early to stop at a house to do an inspection, and then on his way home, then he's doing it at lunch, and they all are, that then, of course, piqued me to say, that's not right. They're working above and beyond and never said a word. They didn't make a peep. And Kasha looked into it, and she came to me, and she was quite concerned, and she was upset. And so coupled with then talking to the council to say, look, these people are overwhelmed, we then talked to John, because as you know, I always try to pay for what we have in existing funds. John, to his credit in the last budget, looked, because he bases revenues coming in with expenditures going out. And in the building department, he figured COVID, we're going to see a downsizing, right? We're going to see a diminution in permits. And as John looked at it, much to his surprise, it was the opposite. They're gone lunar. So he's identified that we have much more and he's available for the questions, but we have more available that we didn't spend to offset this for this year. It's about $52,000 with benefits for the remainder of the year. And we have that in the bank to pay out of the revenues that we're getting from that department. And next year we'll look again. And I expect that, again, it's going to be an upturn. You don't know how many people call that they're doing pools and they're doing additions because they're staying at home and they're investing money in the town, which is giving us money in permits and making our community better and more beautiful. But I'd have to say, and I'm no expert in dollars and cents, but when I see that we had an increase of $97 million in building, and we're talking about a job that this year will cost us $50,000 and $100,000, I think if we spend $1 and we get back $1,000, that's a pretty good deal. I'm going to let Kasha give a little bit overview, because I say this really, she was passionate about this after she looked into it. Then I'm going to let you hear from Ray, and you can have ask any questions of his boss, Lori Witten, who also did come to us too. She was concerned with people being out. But I have to tell you, they know I'm kind of a tough guy when it comes to adding positions mid-budget, and my answer is always no. Come back in the budget. So they're a little apprehensive to do it. So there were some requests, and I give to Lori. She tried to help a little bit, and I kind of had a deaf ear until, like I say, put all this together. And then the evidence was so overwhelming, the facts spoke for themselves. Kasha, could you please give a little talk about that, and then we'll go to Lori and then Ray.
Welcome, Kasha and Lori, and Ray would just if your title right before you speak, that'd be great, so as folks know. Go ahead, Kasha.
Sure, I'm Kasha Perciel, Assistant Town Manager. I think Chris covered, a lot of the major points here. One area that he didn't cover, and this is part of the reason why I was so upset about this after talking to Ray and Lori, is just the level of customer service you're providing. I think, since I started here 2 years ago, I think we go above and beyond in every way for our residents. And after talking to Ray, I realized that with this department, they were barely treading water, that this was something where they were just getting things done as quickly as they could, and they couldn't. There was no way they could really try to provide the customer service that our residents deserve and that they wanted to provide. So I think that was a huge factor here. And I know that, just speaking with Ray, that's something that's really important to him. And I think it's something he'd like to do. And with the circumstances right now, we're not allowing it because of the amount of work he has and everybody in the department has right now. So, yeah, in
And
front
I'd like
of
to
you-
say, Kasha, too, not to interrupt you, my train of thought, though, to a degree, we're a little bit of a victim of our own success, because when we consolidated with IT and upgraded software programs, one of the areas identified was the building department, so people would be more user-friendly. So now people can much more readily go on to see their permit and go, oh, well, everything's there, how come it's not being approved? So we did make an improvement, but I think it highlighted the delays a little more, right, Kasha?
Yes, exactly. I was just about to get to that. So yes, exactly. That's something that, I'm happy that it's helping our residents, but it's also just, they're stuck on a waiting screen for much longer now. So you have in front of you the highlights. You can see that there's a lot of reviews in progress for some big projects, a lot of ongoing projects that require inspections, and then at the bottom you see up and coming projects. So there's a lot of big projects coming our way. That right now haven't even hit the radar, and we're already struggling to keep up. So, you can see that, as Chris mentioned, the numbers. You see the increases in numbers in the annual report in the following pages. So with that, I can turn it over to Lori or Ray, or for whatever questions you may have.
So Lori or Ray, whoever would like to, give a presentation, go right ahead.
I just want to, first of all, thank you, Mayor, and the town councils for even considering this request, because when I started, I realized that the building department was understaffed, and with this COVID, it's just been snowballing. It's been crazy. So thank you for even recognizing the fact that, the building department has been working above and beyond, and they really, they've gone, as Kasha was saying, they're working before work and working after work, and they're really not being compensated, and it's just not a fair situation. Working towards customer service is our goal, and they're not able to meet that goal based on their current staffing levels. So I'm going to leave it to Ray at this point, just because he knows the details way more than I do. Because he is in the thick of it. So I will give it to him unless there's a specific question.
No, thank you, Lori. Go ahead, Ray. You have the floor, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Ludwig, Deputy Mayor Suzak, and distinguished members of the council. I can expand probably a little bit on what Chris and Kasha and Lori spoke so well on for us. Customer service is very important to me, and the delays, we're hearing some complaints. I don't know if how many of them are making it to the council or Chris. I think people complain here. I think they might actually be worried about retribution if they complain, to you guys, and that comes back to us, which would never be the case, because again, we do whatever we can, whenever we can, but it has been a significant struggle. We did get the plan review out for the assisted living on Hazard Avenue. I think that went out on Friday at the end of the day, and that was about 5 weeks after they applied. I took advantage of the couple hours I had here sitting in the office. I caught us up, but I'm still looking at permits from the first half of October. So we're a month to 5 weeks out, and as you guys understand from maintaining your own houses and your own projects, to wait 5 weeks for a deck or any other permit like that. I mean, we're still issuing pool permits. That's unacceptable to me. It's not how I want to run my department. If that's where we're at, that's where we're at. But hopefully, we can do something to adjust and start turning things around in a quicker fashion. I tried to hold the line on inspections for as long as I could. We were about a week out on that, and now we're out to about 2 weeks on an inspection, which also makes people unhappy, which is just a continued spiral for us with the phone calls about, again, where's my permit, or the little in-house complaints like that. So, but I think we've gone a long way towards improving the customer service opinions here in Enfield. And I would like to keep that up, and to do so, we're going to have to do something about staff.
And I'll just interject, Mr. Mayor, that I think this is a great problem to have. that we have so many people who want to come to the town and build anew, or commercial businesses that want to expand, and residents who want to stay here and improve their homes. So I think it's a great situation to be in. And I will tell you, a while back, before this really reached this crisis point, we did try with an attempt, before it was this dire, to add a part-time person with readjusting funds within the department, and that still wasn't enough. So I think given the size of our town and the excellent staff we have now, and I'm going to be, it's important who's in charge. We've hired really good people. And I think in the past, in some departments, there wasn't the appetite to add staff in departments that we thought didn't care about customer service, that didn't care about trying to get things done quickly. And I'm not going to single this department out explicitly, but there are those that occurred in. And to hear people to be so concerned about customer service because they take it so personally, that's a testament to the people you have working for you. And I want our residents to know, they don't want to hear about it's short-staffed or COVID. I want them to say, this is great. I got the permit and I'm putting the pool in, and we're staying in Enfield to spend money here instead of going to the Cape to spend money there.
Well said. Any questions from members of the council? Councilor Mangini?
Thank you. Thank you for presentation, and certainly I, would support this resolution. But I do have a couple questions, and maybe I can direct my question directly to John Wilcox. I'm trying to understand the dollars. You've got the breakdown totaling the 52,505. It's coming from the general fund revenue. What, or I should say, how does this affect the balance in the general fund revenue to get us to the first part of the year? That's one part of my question. The other part of my question also would be, how many assistant building officials do we currently have? I don't know the structure. I'm unfamiliar with the structure, but I would like to understand, are there workers that work under the supervision of an assistant building official? I mean, I think my question really is, why are we looking for a building official? Wouldn't it be rather a person who reviews the...
No, those are both good questions. John can answer the first,
Okay.
and Ray can answer the second.
Go ahead, John. Thank you.
Regarding the, every year during the budget process, we put in an estimate of where we think the building permit revenue will be. And that helps offset the amount of taxes that we need to collect. And the higher you can go with that, the more you can reduce your mill rate.
Okay.
I was conservative this year because at the time we're finalizing the budget, this is the virus was just breaking out, and there was a lot of unknowns. So rather than go out on a limb and increase it, I budgeted conservatively. And from all appearances, it looks like we are continuing on the path of the last few years, and we will be over budget by the end of this year. And that additional funding, I would increase the funding for that, and it would be used to fund this position for the rest of this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. And Ray, could you please address just the structure of yourself as a senior building official and who you have with you, and address the second question for Councilor Mangini, please?
Yeah, not a problem. I supervise the department. There are two assistant building officials that work under me. The assistant building official is a license in the state of Connecticut, and that just allows them to do pretty much everything: inspections, plan reviews, all of that stuff. Instead of like Massachusetts has a building inspector, a plumbing inspector, an electrical inspector. Though, oftentimes you have contractors waiting for 2 or 3 different inspectors that may work part-time. That's how Massachusetts generally handles it. Connecticut has a little bit more flexibility in that if we are licensed as a building official or assistant building official, we can pretty much perform any function of code compliance, from plan reviews of any type of plan, and inspections of any type of work, be it structural, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, whatever it is. If we hired someone that was just an electrical inspector, if that was their only license, that's the only thing they could do. And then then at the counter, we have Linda Maria, the two permit technicians, which, they're the ones that handle a lot of the intake paperwork, although, since I started, we're not really doing paper permits or anything anymore. We cut that out of the budget to save money on paper and things like that, so we don't mail out permits anymore. Everything goes out email. And they take in, digitally review the applications for completeness, handle the money, and balancing and all of that stuff. And save some of the, catch some of the simple stuff that's not right, so the assistant building officials and myself don't have to, reject applications for clerical things. And like I said, they're very valuable in that position to weed out some of the smaller things before they make it to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for those questions.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? I think it's interesting when you talk about customer service, right? So sometimes there's going to be complaints when there's customer service. So part of customer service is actually responding to, and listening to what people are telling you that maybe we need to do a little better, or maybe, hey, this is something we need to look at. And that's part of customer service. And so I give the staff credit for, and again, I've heard some of the things that you've heard, and I agree. It's like, listen, the folks who want to put a deck in is just as important as these big projects that are listed that are going on in town. And so I guess really part of customer service is actually listening and how do you improve. And so, again, this is part of it. So we've heard people and we've taken it very seriously. And I agree with you. So even if we weren't in the boom that we're in, we want to keep that boom going. It's not, we don't want it just to be a short-term thing. Well, the only way you do that is continue to improve your customer service. And that's so again, I just want people to know we do listen. And we take it very seriously when people ask us for how we can improve, what we're doing well, what we can do a little better. And this is a direct response to all those questions that I've heard, I know you've heard, and certainly staff has heard over the last few months. And I agree, it's interesting. These folks won't let us use COVID as an excuse, which is the interesting part of all this, right? If we tell them, well, it's because of COVID, well, it's funny how many people tell you, well, I don't want to hear that. So it's very interesting how this has kind of evolved when it comes to building permits and everything else, which is a good thing. And so I think this is a direct response to say, look, we've been saying for 4 years we're open for business. That includes the individual who wants to put a deck in their backyard, who wants to put a pool in, wants to put a fence up, or whatever it may be, along with the developments that we're trying to bring in town. And customer service means sometimes we have to, maybe we have to do something, we have to add a piece here, or we have to do something there. And so, again, that's good. And I think I'm glad people are reaching out to members of the council and reaching out to you and reaching out to staff. We do listen, and I think this is very important to answer some of that, what we've heard. Hey, look, you need to move it a little higher. I mean, I'm not going to accept COVID as an excuse. You guys need to move it up a little bit, which is a very good problem to have. Yeah, it's a very good problem to have.
In our staff meetings, we don't accept excuses.
Right.
There are reasons and there are causes, and there's the facts that we presented, and then we move on. So we deal with that. And I'll just say, we champion here, and we've tried over our successful business breakfast last September, which I had hoped to continue this year. But we talk about economic development. This is economic development at its foundational level. Can't expect big companies to invest in people to come here if they can't get a building permit. And we convince them to come and spend all this money, and then they can't get the structure up. So this is just really us putting, guaranteeing, putting our money where our mouth is. So I wouldn't come to council if I didn't think it was more than justified, and I think by everything you've heard today, it really is.
Agree. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Kasha. Thank you, Lori. Suzanne, roll call, please.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Bosco.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Himmler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Riley.
4.
Councilor Srazza.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
There's 9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item F under miscellaneous, discussion of resolution requested transfer of funds for freshwater pond of $50,000. Resolve that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made. From the general fund, from capital and non-reoccurring fund of $50,000 to the general fund unallocated transfer freshwater pond other equipment of $50,000, certified that the above funds are available as of November 10th, 2020 by Director of Finance John Wilcox and approved by our Town Manager Christopher Bromson. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Councilor Mangini. I missed her. Second? By Councilor Ongara. Again, so I mean, this is a great way to end the meeting. I'm going to.
I think it's exciting. Again, it's a continuum. I mean, this is part of a process that was started by other town managers in the past. It was cleaning up freshwater pond and taking down jagged, rusted chain link fence, clearing away vegetation and undergrowth so that you could see it. Water is an asset. I think it's always funny. You go to a restaurant that has a little duck pond outside, and people will fight to get that window to be near the water. We've got the Connecticut River, my goodness, and we've got this pond. A year and a half ago, we invested almost $500,000 to dredge it, to clean it, to make it and bring it back to be pristine, because there are a lot of fish species and water that comes through. We have some park benches, but it's underutilized. This year, as I had said before, council appropriated even with keeping taxes at zero with no mill increase in response to a concern about the safety of the spillway there, another $500,000 to move up the project to repair that from about 3-4 years from now to do it this year. So the requests have gone out. Public Works, again, is working very diligently. We hope to do it in the spring. And what we thought was, I looked at that and other areas where they have a recreational use on water like this. It's a gift. It's a gem. So we said, look, when we put out to bid for the spillway, because we went out, again, there's nothing like going out and looking at things to really understand them, like going to see the gym. And we went out there, and I said, geez, I really can't put paddle boats on here because there's like a 15-foot drop at the spillway, and I don't think parents would be happy to have their children disappearing down the river into the Connecticut. So we did. We put that in, and now there's a guard that's going to go up there. Donald's going to put up on the board our conceptual plan and what we'd like to do, again, so we have the funding when the spillway is completed in early spring. I can't come back after the budget and say in July or August we want to buy some paddle boats and little kayaks and a dock, but now by doing it this way like we did with the gardens and with the basketball courts, we will have some money to have the docks. There's a guard also going towards the upper part of the pond that Donald will explain. And I think it's going to be wonderful. I think it shows that people are willing to come. The farmers market, you all went. We had hundreds and thousands, not thousands at a time, but over the weekends come into the downtown area. We've had some great food trucks along here all summer, and people have gone. A lot of people from Town Hall and the Neighborhood Walk. I think this is another addition to revitalize this, and it's for the whole town. You have young folks. We're going to have attendance. We're going to have a lifeguard through recreation, and for a small nominal fee to cover costs, almost nothing, you can come down all summer from anywhere in town and from surrounding and have your kids go on the paddle boat with your mom or dad or your older sister. And we're going to make sure it's maintained. We're going to have a community police officer because you all have appropriated every year money for community policing. We'll make sure there's an officer in this vicinity. And I think it's, again, going to be another step to revitalize and bring people into Enfield and into the downtown. It's a small amount of money, and we're going to wait. We'll have the money now, and hopefully we'll be on target. We'll work out the logistics. We'll come back to you. If the dam's delayed or something like that, well, we'll have to revisit. But this way, we're ready to go this summer to do it. And it's another, I think, great thing for the town of Enfield. So we would hope that you would support it.
Well, just 1 second, Councilor. Donald, do you have, anything?
Yes, Don, you want to give a little bit of overview on what the buoy system there, the barrier?
Sure, yeah. Chris was referring to Don, as part of the training wall replacement design, we have included a very different sort of barrier system here, and the engineers are going to be designing that to protect potential paddle boaters from not going over the spillway, like Chris said. But on this section of where the pier is, from here, approximately in the same arc are what are called gabion walls, which are basically chain link fence boxes, if you will, giant box, like 4 foot by 6 filled with rock to hold back the forebay. This is what we worked on over the summertime last year, removing all and dredging all the junk that came into this area. So that whole system here, which is not navigable by boat or anything, that's why we have to put another barrier up through here to protect the people using it. So the location of the docks, I thought would be the best location would be down through here. because we have an accessible ramp that goes through here. All these walks are accessible here. The walk would be down, you would be able to walk down here and go out there. And again, if the kids were a little older, the parents could stay at the gazebo and either photograph or film like they do. And it also is sort of a captive audience by having the food trucks right here. Everybody has to enter and exit through this area. So again, there's vendors to the left and to the right. And it just would provide that sort of atmosphere where, again, there's just going to be a lot of people, a lot of milling around. And again, if depending upon the success, a system like this is expandable. So again, if it was really, thinking if at that point is overwhelming, we could always add another dock over this way to house 2 more. I think starting with 4 with Chris is a great idea. And again, this is always expandable, and we can take it from there. So,
Thank you, sir.
yes.
Councilor Sakala.
Thanks. I have a couple of questions. And some comments. So I do not have a problem with this. Let me say that outright. I think it's a great idea. I am going to point out that during the budget and for the last, 8 months, we have been told that we need to cut this, we have to close that, we can't have anything in CIP in the budget because we don't have any money. We can't get a grant writer, we can't have 2 extra EMTs, we can't keep the daycare open. And in the last 2 weeks, this council has spent almost $200,000 in community projects and a new position. I don't have a problem with it. I think we should have done it 6 months ago. That being said, it should have been in the budget. That's it. All of these projects that we want to do should be part of the budget instead of at budget time saying, nope, we need to have a 0. We can't have any of these projects in the budget. It's not fair. That being said, I support this. I think it's a great idea. Here are my questions. 1, how much does a lifeguard cost? Do we know?
Recreation, John knows that we have funding and people in place, so we're going to work out those logistics and come back and see what that is. They say we may not need a lifeguard technically, that the attendance would be enough, but that's something we're exploring. Again, this is, a concept. And let me just say, I think to respond to your first point, I understand that. I always say, and I've been a proponent, let's do it during the budget. But unfortunately, the garden plots, we didn't know how successful they would be. So, and the basketball courts, we didn't think of until now. So it wasn't the rest of the council. You can point the finger at me. And as I said to you, if we wait to do it in the budget, you lose another year. And I think you should all recall that last year in the budget, we wanted to do a 0. COVID was ravaging us. We all forget quickly that we were under a real emergency type situation. We didn't know what the state was going to do. We wanted to adopt a budget. We really had to abandon a lot of plans, a lot of expenditures in the CIP and the millions of dollars to stay within a no-mill increase. So I take full responsibility for that. Right now, and to answer your point, the reason I'm doing this now is for the reason you just stated. I don't want to be distracted or ask the council to do these small little things. And you could say $200,000 is a lot of money. It is, but not really. Not what you consider our CIP budget usually is around $5 million. I want all of these done so we know we can have the young people look forward to these this summer, and I want to concentrate in this budget. And we started. I'm moving up the time frame. I told staff, we have a staff meeting tomorrow, we're going to move up the budget process by almost a month and a half because I don't know what's going to happen with the state. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but they're going to have to identify again bare bones because I think this council may say we're not going to have another tax increase, and I want them to be ready to identify where we want to spend it. So I don't want these little projects because they would fall. And I'm going to be honest, if during the budget and it's going to be a 0 again, if I came to you with these, you'd probably deny them all. So I felt, with the money, and remember too, after last budget, and I said this at the last meeting, we went out and we rebid the bonds. We saved almost $1.6 million, which we didn't have. We went out and we changed from Travelers to Kerma, and we've saved, John can tell me, but I think at least $600,000 a year. So that's a good amount of money that we have. And I just think that I want to get these things done so during the budget we can concentrate like laser, because I know you care about, and I know the whole council does, I really want to concentrate and put the effort into the roads and the roof referendum. I don't think we can put that off again. So I'll take responsibility. I understand your frustration. It's just that these ideas and the market sort of came to me over the last few months thinking, what can we do for next summer? Because it is going to be a rather difficult winter. And I'd like when the spring comes to our residents to be able to enjoy these projects at not really a great cost. But I understand your concern, but that was my thinking. So I thank you for the support and indulging me in that. I'm just, and I thank the council that all these things have been unanimous. And you know, Gina, I truthfully and sincerely appreciate the questions and the input because I understand where you're coming from. I'm the one that preaches that. Do it during the budget. So I understand. And I wanted to explain it.
Okay.
And your questions.
Well, now I'm going to respond to one thing. I do
Okay.
take kind of an issue with
All
you
right.
saying that we would cut it or get rid of it or it would get lost.
All right, you're
Some
right.
people
That's
would.
fair.
Not
I don't want to prejudge. I just thought when we're probably going to be talking between do we get police cars and if you don't want to raise the budget, you probably wouldn't do paddle boats. So that's just my intuition.
some may, unless you're using you as collective.
Okay. I withdraw that then. That was just my sense.
Thank you. So I guess my next two questions and comments are, what are you going to do for safety to keep these boats and paddle boats so they cannot come loose at night? They cannot be used at night. We need to have some pretty tight safety measures over
I would
there.
say to you, I would like to say that we haven't thought that yet, and we will, but we have. We're going to remove them at night just for that reason, because we're afraid of theft and vandalism. Also part of the project, I had said previously, after we cleaned this and found couches and beds and things, we're going to be also enhancing the video surveillance of the pond. So we'll let people know we're watching at night, but we're going to remove them every night at this juncture. There won't be that many, and we just think that that was Donald's recommendation. It'll just alleviate all those concerns. Right, Donald?
Yes.
All right, and the last, I guess, more of a comment is I think that we should have some sort of plan in place in order to clean them on a regular basis, given I don't think COVID's going away anytime soon, and I would love people to be outside and enjoying the fresh air this summer. I just don't know if family after person going on these paddle boats one after the other is the best idea.
You're singing to the choir, and I'll tell you, somebody who thinks about that and is probably more concerned is our assistant town manager, Casa Perciello. That's where, like I say, at the farmers market and in other areas, that's always been our main concern with cleaning stations. We've talked about it. I am hopeful, but again, we're going to plan for the worst and hope for the best, that we will address that with sanitation. And Donald has products that are safe that we've used with custodial at the schools with the upgrade. So we'll look at it. And again, you know me, if at any point we think it's not safe and we can't do it properly, we'll pull the plug on it and we'll rededicate the funds. I think hopefully, as we know in the summer, they're saying it is safer. I'm going to be optimistic now with the vaccines that it'll be much better come July and August, but we'll keep the same safeguards, and we are looking at that as to how we do it, and it'll be done between each and every user. And again, we always put safety first, and I appreciate your opinion on that because we share it.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Councilor Hamler?
Putting finances aside, I just want to, I love your vision. I mean, even if half these things go through, I appreciate that you have such vision, and I love the community stuff. So that's just a comment. But I know a lot of stuff needs to be worked out. The finances need to be worked out. You know, maybe not everything will happen, but I like that you're thinking in this direction. Thank you.
And I'll say it's the whole staff. We have a really innovative staff. They have passion, and they come up with these things in-house. And the council has vision and shares with me, too. So it's a collaborative effort. But I thank you.
Councilor Bosco. And then Councilor Sparza.
Chris, I want to thank you and your staff. I know this has been going on for a while, talking about it. And if you didn't get it out now and you're gone, the vision's gone. So while you're here, I'd rather see these things that we've been talking about for a while come through and then figure out later what we're going to do. But, you know, for all them people that say we are doing nothing, and the best is yet to come, too. And you have, and your staff and all the council has a vision for down there that when it comes through, it's going to definitely be a gem. Thank you.
Councilor Sparza.
You know, I would just like to say that I understand and makes perfect sense what Councilor Sakala said, that during budget season, there were a lot of valuable, important projects that we didn't want to say no to, but we did. We did that because we were embarking where no one has ever been before. Our economy was shut down. We didn't know how people were going to go back to work. It was just an unknown time. And I think I'm the one that always brings up the state of the budget of Connecticut, the pension deficit, which is in the billions of dollars. I still worry about that every day, that's not going away, and at some point it's going to come back here. As far as these projects go, there's two things, Chris, that you mentioned, and you just kind of glossed over them, and I want to bring them out again, that we know tonight that we didn't know back when we did the budget. We didn't know that we could go back out to have our bond rating evaluated. That was at your direction. And as a result of that, we saved $1.6 million in revenue. Is that correct?
That's correct. Over the course of the next several years, we'll save $1.6 million.
And the second thing we didn't know was through your initiative again, and networking with the different parties involved, we shifted the town employee health plan to a different company, which resulted in the same coverage for our employees, but at a $600,000 savings to the town. That's correct, right?
That's correct. John can illuminate, but also one thing, I'm very proud of that, because also we had a high deductible. Now we don't. We eliminated it, and also they used to come back and do an assessment, and they could reassess up to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year depending on claims. We don't have that liability anymore. So not only did we save that money, we saved that risk. And I'm very proud of staff and John and Steve Belinda, as you said, for helping us make the decision, for the council supporting it.
Right. And I guess, just to sum it up, is what I'm saying is that no one on the council ever wants to say no to people that have good ideas. We want to do everything for everybody, but we have to be cognizant of our responsibility to the people that pay the taxes. We didn't know if we'd have enough money. These two things I just mentioned were unknown to us at the time, and I'm grateful that we're able to do it, and I'm grateful now that we do have these initiatives, whether they be basketball courts or community gardens, because, the measure of a community isn't limited to just how much your house is worth. There's a quality of life issue that has to be addressed. And if it's going to put us in the hole, then we can't do it. But in light of these two things, I'm still skeptical that our economy is going to recover from this anytime soon. I know that our tax revenues are up to par, which I'm grateful for. I hear tonight the discussion about the building permits, which is all encouraging. But again, the one thing we can't control is the state legislature and the economic condition of the big cities, the pension liabilities the state has. And we've seen before, when the state needed money, where do they go looking for it? They don't go to the distressed communities. They go to those that did the right thing. So, but I will support this, obviously. It's a good thing. I just wanted to bring this up.
And I appreciate that. I'll say we're watching the state situation very carefully. And also, I will tell you that one of the considerations we did have, and you remind me, we went to governance because the subcommittee, Gina's on it, and the mayor, to ask where we were with the tax collections. That's another thing. When we passed the mill rate, we didn't know how badly our residents would be affected. And again, our residents are so responsible, and we are in a good place, maybe even a little ahead. So I was comfortable knowing that we had the revenues available to go forward. And really, the truth of it, my friends, is I just wanted our residents to have something to look forward to. And I understand all of your remarks to it, and it's a little out of normal, but we're kind of in a little out of normal times. And I think these are all good initiatives, and I know you all support them. But I truly take all of your comments to heart. I do. And I talk to staff about them, and I appreciate them because I know they're sincere, and I know they're from the heart, and you all only care about what's best for this town. And I'm very proud to work with all of you.
Councilor Riley.
Okay, so I just had a couple questions. I mean, in concept here, it looks like it'd be a great place to take your family and go for an outing. I just wanted to get some clarification. The $50,000, and it says it's for 4 paddle boats and the equipment. So the barrier that is up, that is already included in the money that we've already spent, correct?
Right, we included when we went out for the barrier, which is the expensive as part of the spillway. That was included in that, and the money was appropriated for that already.
Okay, and the docks are already there as well?
No, this is funding.
That's part of it too?
Donald, you want to opine on that? It's, I believe, for the dock. They better put it in, because I told them to make sure we had enough money. I don't want to send people out in the, paddle boats and they don't have a dock to come back to. But it was to be for the docks, life preservers, and the paddle boats. Is that correct, Donald?
That's correct, Chris. And it's like this is the existing pier right here. And there's like a little part that comes out. That's where we'd be tying right into. That would be the easiest place. And it's for these docks and the 4 boats that go with it. And this barrier system here, which is just a string of, could be something as simple as a string of barrels or just something simple like that, because it's a little less important than this one down here, which is included with the training wall repair and replacement. So.
Okay. And then the other question is about the lifeguard, which you might not even have that answer yet, because that's kind of far down the road. But my question is, would this be something that operates every day, or is it just like a weekend thing? Because I hate to get into a situation where you'd have to like pay overtime for somebody to come on the weekend to be a lifeguard. And then the other question would be, like, what would you use as a standard to say that, yes, it was a success and let's keep going? Or no, we can walk away from it now?
I think we'll know it when we see it if no one comes. But if we have long lines and people want more paddle boats and they contact you and say, how come we can't get on because there aren't enough boats, we'll kind of know. The specifics we're working on. I want to be talking to the fire department as well over there, just about their being able to assist us, recreation. So it's a work in progress in regard to that, and we'll come back to you. But I think we wanted to just, as I say, get the funding in place so we knew we could start ordering the things and start advertising this as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call, please, Suzanne. You unmute, Suzanne, roll call.
All right, I'm sorry, it's been quite an evening for me.
No worries.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Bosco. 4. Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Hemler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Riley.
4.
Counselor Srazza.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
Here's none in favor, none against, no extension.
Thank you, Suzanne. Moving on to item 16, public communications. Again, there's no one in the audience, so I declare public communications closed. Item 17, is there any councilor communications? I just want to say I wish everyone a safe and a happy Thanksgiving. Turkey Day is one of my favorite holidays, so I hope everyone has a great time and be safe. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. By Councilor Mangini, seconded by Councilor Ungary. All those in favor by show of hands. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone. Again, happy Thanksgiving.